All right, welcome to Lesson 8 in the ICS 200 series. This is it, the moment we've been building towards. You might have heard me refer to the application activity. Well, if you haven't, this is it. In this lesson, you'll step into the role of being first on scene, the first on scene supervisor at a large public event that suddenly turns into a chaotic multi-agency emergency. It will evolve. We'll have a bunch of activities as we add additional information. It's based on a fictional but realistic scenario in a county we'll call Liberty County, and you'll apply ICS concepts, you'll make decisions, and you'll think through real-time challenges. This activity is really helpful, and I think you'll find it that way too. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to establish command, conduct a scene size-up, develop incident objectives, identify resource needs, choose the right ICS structure, and transfer command when needed. This is your beautiful opportunity to practice big picture thinking. You'll need to have it as an effective team member and definitely as a future leader in the field, and so here's your shot. So here's the setup. The scenario for this activity takes place in Liberty County. Liberty County is located in the fictional state of Colombia on the Atlantic coast between Canada and Mexico. Liberty County is primarily rural with large tracts of forest, grazing lands, farmlands. The population of the county is 302,412. Almost half of the population resides in Central City, and another quarter of the county's permanent residents live in 4 smaller cities: Fisherville, Harvest Junction, Kingston, Bayport. Liberty County government includes a sheriff department, emergency management center, public health department, public works department, board of schools, etc. The county infrastructure includes dam and reservoir, a seaport, and 2 airports. The map is here. It's also in your student manuals. Once you understand these things, we'll go on to the next thing. But so far, this is what we have: a diverse, realistic environment to work with. Central City is the heart of Liberty County. It has 149,000 residents, 4 hospitals, 2 universities, fire, police, public works, high-density housing, and event venues. So as a responder, you could encounter anything from civil unrest to stadium incidents to medical surges in a city like this. It's a decent-sized city. So, what is your role? You are the member of an emergency management community within Liberty County and Central City. You could be from any of the many major disciplines that could be involved, such as fire, police, EMS, public works, or public health. For the purposes of this activity, it's not super important, but you are the first supervisory level person arriving on the scene of the incident. In this activity, you will apply what you've learned in the course so far to choose the appropriate initial response action that should occur. You need to assess the situation and initiate ICS. The Liberty County Fairgrounds are located northwest of Central City, Fairgrounds Avenue. The southern boundary of the fairgrounds is 1 street north of the city limits, with the jurisdiction of Liberty County. The indoor and outdoor facilities at Liberty County Fairgrounds are utilized throughout most of the year. It's the week of the annual Liberty City Liberty County Fair and Rodeo. The event is hosted at the fairgrounds and attracts several thousand visitors daily. Early in the evening, large crowds fill the 127-acre complex. People stream to and from the parking areas. Traffic is congested, and the midway area, outdoor stage, and grandstand are filled to capacity. Small elements of the County Sheriff Office, the Central City Police Department, the Central City Fire Department, and County Emergency Medical Services are located in and around the fairgrounds to provide for public safety at the event. These organizations are operating cooperatively, but no centralized incident command structure has been established yet. So you're already dealing with crowds and congestion and limited access. Start thinking about these things. At about 5 p.m., a large truck traveling fast, heading west on Fairgrounds Avenue, veers off the road, jumps the curb near the fairgrounds entrance, and passes through the crowd. The vehicle stops when it runs into an exhibit hall next to the outdoor stage. A few moments later, as the crowd begins to react, the large truck catches fire. Several people were injured as the tanker truck passed through the crowd, and there could be death. There is disorder as some attempt to flee and others attempt to help. The large truck is in an active fire that must be suppressed and could spread to nearby structures if not addressed quickly enough. There are other potential hazards, including damaged buildings and utilities, power, water, gas, that could be damaged as well. Public safety personnel on scene, law enforcement, fire, EMS, respond immediately to the incident. Both Central City and Liberty County Emergency Operations Centers are notified of these events and prepare to send any additional resources required for the incident. So you've just arrived. It's 5:15 p.m. The scene is chaotic. You must establish command immediately. You're the first supervisor on scene, and there's a need to quickly establish command. Let's review a few of the NIMS management characteristics that apply to determining the best approach for the incident command function in an incident. So for now, think about who should take command. Should this be single or unified command? What agencies are involved? And we're going to use some of the NIMS characteristics like chain of command, unity of command, establishment and transfer of command, and unified command if you think that's needed. So here's our first activity in this section. We're going to take 10 minutes to discuss. Who should assume command? What kind of command structure is needed? And what is the best way to clearly establish control? If you're working solo, pause the video, sketch it out, draw the command structure, and if you're in a group, discuss it together. Pause here if you need to, and we'll continue when you're ready. So now that you've taken command, your next step is to size up. You've established incident command under a single incident commander. This incident commander will be from the Central City Fire Department. Other jurisdictions and agencies involved in response to this incident will take their direction from this incident commander. This conforms to the NIMS management characteristic of chain of command and unity of command. All responders are under a single command structure led by the incident commander. Remember that the incident commander will manage the incident by establishing a common set of incident objectives for all jurisdictions and agencies involved in the response. So what's next? Acting as the incident commander and determining your approach to the incident, your initial actions should include a size up. A size up is done to develop initial incident objectives. Incident objectives will define what type or resources are required to respond to the incident. Finally, the resources the incident commander will manage affect which command and general staff positions will be activated to assist the IC in management of the incident. This all shapes everything that follows. The considerations for a size-up outlined in this course include size up the nature and magnitude of the incident, determining the hazards and safety concerns, determine initial priorities and immediate resource requirements, determine the location of the incident command posts and staging areas, determine the entrance and exit route for responders. Again, you will need to first complete your size-up activities to determine the ICS sections that you will need to manage the incident. We will walk through these initial actions that you'll take as the first supervisor on scene. Now, we'll start the size-up by looking at the first two considerations. Size up the nature and magnitude of the incident. What kind of incident is it? MCI, fire, hazmat, how many are injured? What structures are impacted? And could it get worse? Determine the hazards and safety concerns. Nature and magnitude refer to your assessment of what kind of incident you face, which can include the type of incident and size and complexity of the event. Your size up guides your objectives in your structure, so don't rush it. So let's pause here. What type of incident is this? Based on what you know. Is it a type 4 or type 3? How complex? What resources are already there? And what is still needed? Pause here if you need a second, and if not, we'll continue on. You should recall from this course that it's a useful way of characterizing incidents by incident typing. Incidents are categorized into 5 types based on complexity. Type 5 incidents are the least complex and Type 1 are the most complex. Factors that impact the determination of incident type include the size of the ICS structure, number of resources employed, and the length of time the incident response is anticipated to last. This incident is likely type 3, which means expanding structure, a written IAP, and unified command are likely on the table. Multiple agencies, multiple operational periods. This could be a decently long one. So review the following definitions of incident type if you need to. So, what incident type is appropriate for the incident in the scenario? You've got multiple injuries, fire, utility risk, potential intentional act, maybe, and growing public and media attention. So how would you classify this? Post your thoughts in the comments, pause the video if you need a second, and when you're ready, we'll continue. Understanding that this is a type 4 incident should already give you a framework to understand the number of resources you will need, how long the resource may take, and the need to establish some ICS command and general staff for the incident. The next part of initial response activities is to determine the hazards and safety concerns in the incident. Thinking through the hazards and safety concerns is an important exercise for the incident commander or unified command. You must define the problems that you face before you can determine and prioritize the actions that you need to take in response to the incident. Remember, part of your job is to keep responders safe too. So understand your hazards and safety concerns. So let's take 10 minutes now to list out all the possible hazards. What would you want the safety officer to know starting off? And how would you protect your crew? Now, set your initial objectives. Remember, life safety, incident stabilization, property preservation. Now that you've defined the nature and magnitude of the incident and understand the hazards and safety concerns that you're faced with, you can start determining priorities and resources. Let's start by reviewing 2 of the NIMS management characteristics that apply to determining priorities. Management by objectives. Identify response priorities and objectives and define the resources required to achieve the objectives. This is a key activity that must be documented. Incident action planning. Incident objectives, tactics, and assignments for operations and support are recorded and communicated through an incident action plan, or IAP, as we've mentioned before. While this may not start as an extensive written document early in response, as incidents increase in size, complexity, and length, it is increasingly important to document incident response activities. So for activity 8.3, we're going to write down some SMART objectives. What is specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and time-sensitive? Pick your priorities, present them in class or post them in the comments if you're watching online. But nonetheless, write them down as if you were going to brief your team. We have another discussion question here. You have a lot of objectives for the incident. You will be pursuing multiple objectives simultaneously, but you also need to understand the priority of your objectives. Take a look at the incident objectives you developed. Which do you assess as your top priority? Pause the video here if you need a second to think about this, and we'll continue when you're ready. Of all of your objectives, what is your number 1 priority? Is it treating patients, or stopping the fire, or clearing the crowd, or securing the area? Justify your answer, and remember, you can't do everything all at once. So now that you've set objectives, request the right resources. Think fire suppression maybe, EMS units, command staff, public works, mutual aid, law enforcement. Use common terminology, track what you order, and control deployments. List the resources that you want. Pause the video if you need more time, and we'll continue. Before we move on from resources, let's review a few more NIMS management characteristics that can be applied to managing resources. First, common terminology. Using standard terms for resources can help to ensure that when you request a resource, it meets your requirement. You will need a process to record and report the status of all incident resources from the time that they arrive on scene until they are returned to their jurisdiction. You will need to control deployment of resources to ensure that you receive only what you've requested. Unrequested resources can take up space needed for requested resources and can create additional management requirements that fall on incident command or unified command. They just kind of get in the way. Too many unassigned responders or resources is chaos. So congratulations, you've completed the first 3 initial response actions. You've sized up the nature and magnitude of the incident, you've determined the hazards and safety concerns, and you've determined the initial priorities and immediate response resource requirements. Next, you have to consider a few issues associated with site control. Determine the location of the incident command post and staging area or areas, and determine the entrance and exit routes for responders. Use the map and your size up to make smart and safe decisions for these. Try to place them where they're accessible, but safe. So now we're going to assign ICS roles based on needs. Acting as the incident commander, you have completed a size up to include identifying hazards and safety issues, setting priorities, determining resources, and defining key initial incident management locations. Now that you understand what you're trying to accomplish and what resources you will be managing, you will need to define the ICS structure that will be needed to support management of the incident. At this point in the scenario, the incident command likely consists of the fire chief working over the hood of the command vehicle. Additional resources will be arriving soon, and the incident commander will need additional staff personnel to help in the management of the incident response. So use only what's needed. Don't overload the structure. Work with that. What ICS command and general staff positions will you need to manage the incident? Remember that the incident commander / unified command is responsible for performing all of these functions personally until he or she activates that function. You've got at least 30 responders here across 6 to 10 areas, right? Which means you need some command staff, general staff, possibly groups or divisions. Start with the basics and expand as more resources arrive. So now we've settled that this is a Type 4 incident. We expect several pieces of fire apparatus, ambulance crews, law enforcement personnel to be involved. Between the incident site and the staging area and the perimeter, we can assume that at least 30 law enforcement, fire, and EMS personnel will be involved in the incident response. These personnel will be distributed across 6 to 10 separate locations and around the fairgrounds. For the purpose of this activity, we'll only look at the 8 command staff and general staff positions seen here. So recall what function each command and general staff position performs. Here's a reminder of what they are, but you should know. Public Information Officer, Safety Officer, Liaison Officer, Operations Section, Planning Section, Logistics Section. And then you'll have Finance / Admin. So now we'll take 10 minutes to decide what roles must be filled immediately. After that, who can fill them and what can wait? Assign based on skills, agencies present, and incident complexity. Write that down, pause the video, game plan a little bit, and we'll continue when you're ready. It's now just after 6 p.m., and the situation appears to be getting worse. The initial assessment of several injuries was incorrect. There are over a dozen injuries and at least 3 dead. The vehicle fire spread quickly to the building, igniting a damaged natural gas line in the kitchen area. The combination of explosion, fire, and collision damage caused the building to partially collapse. The fire continues to burn and now threatens other surrounding structures. What do you do? The crowds are under control, but traffic has not yet completely cleared from the area and continues to slow the ingress and egress of emergency management resources. The vehicle driver has not been found, and the origin and contents of the large truck have not been positively identified yet. This raises new concerns that there could have been some intentional act and that the truck could have been transporting something very hazardous. The incident has increased in size and complexity and will extend into at least one more operational period. So now for activity 8.7, expanding incident. With this escalation, we'll revisit our objectives, our hazards, our command structure, our intelligence needs, and our resource requests. This is where you may transition from single IC to unified command, as an example. As the incident commander, you make the assessment. Incident command. This is an incident that will now involve more jurisdictions and agencies. Law enforcement is concerned with investigation and crime scene preservation, and hazardous materials assessments must be reconciled with your other priorities. A unified command with representatives from various jurisdictions and agencies involved in response to the incident, to include fire, EMS, law enforcement, public works, may now be the best approach for incident command. Let's talk about nature and magnitude of the incident. This is now a Type 3 incident. Resource requirements will exceed the initial response resource that you have on site. The incident will extend to multiple operational periods, and additional ICS command and general staff positions will have to be activated. The number of concerns has increased. As far as priorities and resource requirements, while your current objectives are still valid, there will be additional objectives associated with law enforcement investigation, hazmat response, and public work actions that will require the development of new objectives. These objectives will have to be prioritized, and additional resources will be needed to accomplish these objectives. The ICS structure will need to be expanded now. Liaisons, a planning section, a logistics section, and an intelligence/investigation section are some of the positions that should now be considered for inclusion into the command structure. So as the incident grows, a more senior IC may take over. Unified command may become the most appropriate method, and a full incident action plan is needed. You'll now brief incoming leaders using the ICS Form 201 to assist in their help as well as in transition. The initial incident commander may continue to serve as a member of Unified Command. It is also possible that the increase in complexity will lead to the appointment of more senior personnel to Incident Command. Remember that establishment and transfer of command is a NIMS management characteristic. You must clearly state and record when command is transferred. The transfer of command should be conducted to create minimal disruption to the incident. Wherever possible, the transfer of command should include a complete briefing on the situation conducted face-to-face with the new incident commander or unified command. The NIMS management characteristic, incident action planning, also applies here. Incident objectives, tactics, assignments for operations and support should be recorded and communicated through the Incident Action Plan, IAP. As your incident increased in size, complexity, and length, you should have started to document incident response activities in a written plan. The ICS Form 201 is a standard format to record key situational information and document actions taken on an incident. So, if you do make a transfer, Clearly document time of transfer. Conduct a face-to-face briefing and share all critical updates. Ensure all responders know who's in charge now, and this will help ensure continuity and safety during high-stakes transitions. Congratulations. You've now applied ICS principles in a realistic, high-pressure scenario. You practice command, size up, objective setting, resource management, staff selection, and finally, hopefully, some transfer of command as well. These are the exact skills you will need as a responder and future leader, to be honest, on real incidents. In the final lesson, we'll review what we've learned across all of these sections in ICS 200 so far to prepare for the FEMA final exam. So here's a discussion question for the comments. What was the hardest decision you had to make during the Liberty County scenario, and why? Drop your answers in the comments and compare with your classmates and peers. Let us know in the comments. Your story might help others think through how to handle their command situation and transitions. And once again, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you found the video useful. It really goes a long way for us. See you in the next one.